Hello guys, in this video I'm going to be talking about the physique of Uzui Tengen from Demon Slayer. I think everyone, when we saw this guy for the first time, we were all like taken aback by the size of his muscles and how cool he looked. And certainly I was inspired to build a physique similar to this guy because he looks pretty badass and he's one of the strongest Hashira we had seen so far. So let's see how you can build arms and shoulders like Uzui. First thing you notice when looking at this physique is this is definitely an arm dominant physique. The size of his arms compared to his torso is a crazy difference. His torso really isn't that big, but his shoulders, his upper arms and his forearms are all insanely big in proportion to his torso. And here again you can see the absolute size of his shoulders. They're like boulders. And here's another picture where he has a bit more vascularity, especially in his shoulders and his forearms. And you can see his torso is like a decent size, but it's just overshadowed by the arm size. And in this clip again we can see the shoulders and the arms, I guess because they're on display, that's what really stands out. And his chest doesn't really look that big. He's very lean, so I'm sure his abs are pretty good. And we don't see his legs really, but I imagine they're actually quite big, especially given like the size of his trousers covering them up. His neck and traps really aren't that big, so we don't need to focus on those much. And his back isn't that wide, and keeping the torso reasonably small will draw more attention to the arms and the shoulders, which is the goal of this physique. So the most important muscles are definitely the shoulders, arms and the forearms. So I've made a program to focus on those three muscle groups mostly. Also to make sure you have big legs and decent sized chest and not neglecting the back. So on day one, we're going to start with close grip bench press, mostly for the triceps, but it's also going to hit the shoulders and the chest. This is a movement that you can load up quite heavily. So this is going to be like the main triceps overload movement that you want to focus on, getting this one as strong as you can. And then a cable row for your back, also a little bit for your biceps, but not really. If you want to target your biceps, the best thing you can do is use a supinated grip on whatever movement you're doing. That means your hand is turned so that your palm is facing upward. You can do that on a cable row. I tend to use a neutral grip on cable rows, or you can do an overhand grip, but this is mostly for your back. After that, 4x10 squats for the quads mostly, also the glutes, and then barbell curls. So like I was talking about, you want to supinate your grip so that your biceps are the main muscle engaged in this movement. Personally, I prefer to use an easy bar curl because it's much easier on my wrists. If you can handle a barbell curl though, definitely use that. And this is like your main biceps overload movement, so you want to get really strong on this one. And then the lateral raise, either with dumbbell or cable. This is the movement that's really going to make your delts like pop out to the side, give you that cannonball appearance. And you can superset this with bent over lateral raises for the rear delts. And then finish off with some forearm work doing wrist extensions. So you can put your forearm across a bench or across your knee or something, and then using an overhand grip, hold the dumbbell or the bar and extend your wrist upwards to flex the top of your forearm and then lower it back down again over the edge of your knee or the bench. And this is going to build the top of your forearm. And in day two, the most important shoulder exercise for the front delts is going to be overhead press. You can either do these seated or standing. When you're doing these, make sure you tuck your chin and kind of give yourself a double chin as you're pushing the weight overhead. If you stick your chin out, you're quite likely to strain your neck. That's what I've done several times. So now I make sure to always give myself a double chin, tuck my chin back and really squeeze my glutes under my torso and make sure my spine doesn't curve and extend too much. I want to stay rigid, upright, not bending my spine backwards too much, and that will protect you from injury on the overhead press. If you get really strong at overhead press, you're going to have big shoulders. And next is weighted chin-ups. Since you're going to be using an underhand grip for this is very good for your biceps. So this is another one that if you get really strong at, you're going to get big biceps and also obviously big lats, because that's like the main mover on this movement. If you want to focus on the biceps though, you can keep your elbows further out in front of your body rather than tucking them to your side like you would in a pull-up if you were targeting your lats. After that, you're doing deadlifts for the posterior chains. That's like your hamstrings, glutes, your lower back and your spinal erectors, which aren't crazy important in this physique, but deadlifts just give you so much thickness on the back of your body and raise your overall strength so much. And given that you've just done weighted chin-ups and deadlifts, your grip is already going to have quite a lot of work done this session, so your forearms are going to get a good stimulus for growth. After the deadlifts, you're going to do upright rows. When you start doing this movement, make sure you use a very light weight, almost as light as you can, and you want to find your comfortable grip width. Maybe you want to use dumbbells instead of a barbell and get used to the movement pattern. People say this is a dangerous movement, but that's because they don't find a good grip width, they use poor form, and they use weight that is way too heavy for them. But if you get your body and your joints used to this movement pattern and strengthen it gradually, this is one of the best side delt and trap builders. After the upright row is reverse flies. You can do these on machines or with dumbbells, and these are for the rear delts. And then overhead triceps extensions. If you really like this movement, then you can make it one of your main tricep overload movements using like a barbell or an easy bar and try and get as strong as possible. For me, these really hurt my elbows, so I tend to stick to quite light weights using dumbbells or cables. And then finishing off with reverse grip curls. These are mainly a forearm movement, also biceps, but if you haven't tried these before, you'll probably be surprised how hard they actually are compared to normal curls. On day 3 then, barbell rows, mostly for your back. You could do it underhand if you wanted to target more biceps. And then the barbell bench press after this. For the chest, you're also going to be hitting the shoulders, the front delts, and the triceps. After that, we're doing leg extensions for the quads. So these aren't as fatiguing as squats, so we're not going to do squats again. We can do something less fatiguing, which really have a great stimulus on the quads, and that's leg extensions. If you're used to just squatting and then you do some leg extensions, you're going to find your legs get really sore because this is a new kind of movement pattern for you. And as soon as you introduce like a new movement, you're going to see your gains explode. So after these then, hammer curls, which similar to the reverse grip curls are for your forearms. These are going to be a little bit more bicep than the reverse grip curls because your hand is a bit more supinated, but that's exactly what we want, forearms and biceps. After that then, close grip push-ups, 3 sets to failure, or if you know where failure is for you, then you go close to failure, and these are a tricep movement. Make sure you keep your elbows like tucked as close to your body as you can. And then lateral raises again with a slightly heavier weight than day 1, and finishing off with face pulls for the rear delts. People underestimate the importance of the rear delts in creating that bolder shoulder look, but it's one of the most important heads of the shoulder for creating that round appearance. Like rear delt and side delt are more important than the front delt for creating big shoulders. And on day 4, we're going to start with dips, which are really good for the chest and the shoulders, but if you stay more upright and keep your arms tucked closer to your body, then they'll be really good for triceps. And again, this is one of those ones you can go very heavy on and focus on getting really strong on this movement, as long as you can do it without pain. I find that I can't do normal dips without pain, but I can do ring dips quite well on the gymnastics rings. So if you have trouble doing normal dips, you might want to try some gymnastics ring dips. After the dips, weighted pull-ups, which are going to be really good for your lats. Not so much for your biceps as chin-ups are because your hands are overhand this time. After that, leg curls for the hamstrings, and then loo raises, which are like a full range of motion lateral raise, extending your arms all the way overhead and then all the way back down to your sides. And this hits more than just the side delt, which you get in lateral raises. This hits like the traps and the rear delts as well. You're basically moving the shoulder joint through a full range of motion. After that, triceps push downs, which are one of my favorites for getting a massive tricep pump. And then dumbbell curls for your biceps, classic movement. If you want to focus on the bicep mostly, then start with the weight at the bottom, supinated, and then bring it up. Close your elbow angle and keep it supinated the whole time. A lot of people will have the weight in a neutral grip at their side, and then they'll twist it as they bring the weight up to supinate it, and then turn it back to neutral as they bring it down. And I think that's more comfortable, to be honest, but that's going to involve a bit more forearm, I think, and less bicep. And then you finish off with finger curls, which are purely a forearm movement, and that's going to grow the bottom part of your forearm, that big meaty part on the inside, as you're letting the weight roll down to the tips of your fingers and then closing your hand again, squeezing your forearm, and then repeating that movement. Right, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. These are some of the craziest arms of any character I've covered so far, and it's nice to see a change from the standard like V-taper appearance and something a bit more unique. In this case, just massive arms and shoulders and not really caring about the torso that much. Let me know if this is a physique you're interested in, and if there are any other characters you'd like to see covered, let me know in the comments. I've had lots of requests, so I'm working on all those videos, but thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. If you've seen my video on Toji's physique and you're interested in the complete guide to achieving Toji Fushiguro's physique, including a physique analysis and weightlifting or calisthenics training programs tailored to suit your needs and efficiently maximize muscle growth, check out the link at the top of the description.